didn't even start. It was 222. I'm playing with this orgone stuff, and it's pretty amazing. I got a few things, and they've all synchronized. Like, I was commenting to somebody, one of the things I've been working with is the roding coil, which I've got on this Fisher-Price donut. You see right here? Well, maybe you don't see. Let me try to get it. This guy right here. Yeah, that's the one. Perfect. I hooked that up to the plasma, the Tesla wand thing I had seen on the video. It's cool. It's good for your skin. If you put it on your skin, you have really cool, it makes it really nice. If you get mosquito bites, you do put that on there. They pretty much go away. Other skin problems, it's pretty much done pretty well with. Hooking that to this and then putting it in the water and all that jive. I don't know about the bliss effect, but it definitely has some sort of bubble effect. And if you can manifest within that bubble more than outside of it, I would tend to agree that it is organizational and synchronic. Now this light up here, it makes this weird sound, but it rotates in there. You can hear the gear, and it puts out all these lights. Pretty nice. Now the person that gave it to me, I've got a couple of these lights that do that. You can hear them in there, and they rotate a certain way. But this one has way more electronics in it than I think is appropriate. So what does that mean? Well, it makes me pay attention to it and more suspect. Now one of them, I turned it into a lava lamp. It was one of those ones you get for Halloween, and they're all made by like Gemco, Gemco. Now as soon as I start looking up that stuff, it goes into weird places, like they're doing weird stuff. So reason to suspect, it's relevant. It's not, and I suspect everything. I don't mean that in the type of way as to say I'm afraid or I live in paranoid delusional fear land. I'm just highly alert to certain things and certain agendas. That means I have, they occupy a second of my moment of thinking. Do I greatly bend my life towards that? Well, if it's a gun pointed at my face, I devote more of the time to it. You know what I mean? If it's something definitely dangerous, I try to, but the world is full of dangers. You can't live in this world and it not have dangers, then you wouldn't have any fun. And poor Zephyr, I know what you mean by all the religions and saying that it doesn't get to where I can live. It's not okay to live. It's not okay to live. It's not. You're going to continue to find that until humankind as a whole, Jesus comes back and takes rule over it, or we decidedly do something, that it's not going to be okay to live. That if you, in any way, shape, or form, are doing your own thing, you're going to be attacked. What is doing your own thing? Well, it's occupying, like right now, I'm getting paid because, no, today's my day off, so I'm not actually, not within the parameters. See, I get a little money, and my dad got cancer, and after he got his larynx removed, I had to help him and do stuff like that. He couldn't talk. He had to learn how to talk with that thing that sticks to his neck. And that's serious stuff, and I don't mean that to be like, oh, I gotta stop smoking, or all this stuff. It really wasn't even his cigarette smoking that did it. Because people are appalled. They're like, they see him smoking after he's got this, and he smokes a cigarette out of his mouth. It's not going to his lungs. his lungs aren't even connected to his head anymore, really, like that. I mean, they goes out of his neck, so it's kind of messed up. But you know, all the misperceptions that people have in the world, and what is and what appears to be, well, number one, that is a very thin layer of reality, because usually what you think ain't the case. Almost every case, even for the intelligent person, what you look at and see superficially is usually not the case. Prime example: take somebody who's gotten a colon where they cut out your colon. You know, they cut out your last part of your ass, and you get a colostomy bag. You know, that happened to a friend of mine, and I'm like, do they sew his asshole shut? Think about it. You don't know that until that event happens. And yes, actually they do. They do sew the asshole shut. So that's something you don't think about, but it comes into play. You know, because I would want mine sewed shut. I wouldn't want it all loose, opening up. You know, it'd be like a bottomless pit. You'd have it hooked to, I don't know. That's just one of those things, and it's weird and whatever, but it is what it is. So organizational principles. Clearly I'm crazy. This is my pyramid sticks. They started to bow because I put them up and I had them outside over a rock. And I've got this rock out there, and I lined it up, and I had it in a couple different places, but it's one of those weird ass rocks. And I believe it probably used to be part of something that's alive. It looks like the end of your finger. You know, let me show you my good thumb. It looks like the end of this, except you can see the rings in it, and it's kind of interesting. It could be something else, I don't know. But I took them together, I binded them up. It's not because I'm a fascist, I don't have an axe in there. Which you'll see in my room, because I'm slightly crazy. I have certain things, and I've got weird stuff, like this. This is part of a sheep shear I got from Brother Red Feather, hooked to a horn. It's all bound together, but this has been a pretty useful tool, and the way it fits into my hand, well, and this is what I mean. But if you go around your world, when you start making orgone stuff, you start finding certain symmetries coming together. You know, see, since I was in the occult, and it's not like I'm an occult person or a wizard or a witch or something like that. It's just I've always had that knack doing that type of stuff. Highly psychic when I was a kid, which gets you targeted, you know, because then I notice all the things from school. You know, some of those programs, how much money do you think the state of Texas has invested black budget in its children back in the 80s? Oh yeah. So that sounds crazy. But you know, I brought it up because when my mom died, my stepdad, he had came here and spent his vacation, which was nice, you know. My mom had just died, but you don't think of a man going to his dead wife's ex-husband's house as being a real vacation for him, but we all get along. Oh yeah, I like it. But absolutely crazy. I mean, it's way too distorted. I'm still using this camera though. I like it. But what I've got here above me, if you can tell, got this cage, and I've set this chair in here to do a meditation and whatever, and I've got this light going behind me, my little speaker and stuff is set in front of me all the way up to the ceiling. So when I play the bass, it bounces through, goes out the door and hits the drums, and I feel that. I pick up on those resonances, and that seems to be primarily where I follow my intuition and my research, because I like I like playing sounds, and I like the bass and the frequency dissonances. Now we're on top of a hill, kind of, but to the south of us we have the Colorado River, and we're up above it, but we're right by where the river bend is. Now the river bend has a feeding in section, and it comes in like a perfect arch, and like a delta inside of that, or what are those things they use in the space programs? I can't think of it. The chevron. It looks like a chevron with an arch. And there has some effects. We went down there, me and a friend of mine, one morning, real early. We went down there to the river and got in it. And it looked like, like a Stargate opened up. There was flashes of light all around it. It was like there was cars like lined up, and they hit their brights. We were seeing the light, not the car, coming out of nowhere. The dog was barking at it. We both saw it. I was like, what in the hell is that? And that was the first time it had conceded to me that, maybe that's like a Stargate. And I think so. So much so I've kind of integrated it into the whole thing. So like with the gardening, I made a big mound out there in my garden, and I had a buddy of mine, he brought me dirt, and I had dirt from Great Pyramid, Chichen Itza, Mount Vesuvius ash, like 6 bags of different sites, and I made a mound that was pretty much orgone, because I crunched a bunch of aluminum cans and then mixed it in and stuck the pipe poles into it, like how this tattoo is on my arm. Like that's the design, with the center being unoccupied, but it was a mound, and then spiraled out from that my garden, and it was amazing. Anything orgone I took out there and set, and that was the year before last. And then after that, the next year I reworked it. I doused and found pretty much the earth energy line that I found that ran through across the river, and you could really feel it. And I'd put a cloudbuster there and like compacted it, and it was very effective. Except this time I ran from the river. I ran a ground wire from the barbed wire fence, and then tapped back up and ran that into my cloudbuster, and that thing was badass. Both times when I put it up, it had a hole above it pretty much most of the time. If a chemtrail plane, and they were flying pretty heavy at that time, they would dissolve them. So I'm like, and I think that started 3 years ago, but after about the second or third year, you pretty much figure out where you can jump the device off of you, that you as a living being become the device, where you can actually point your hand up and put the hole in the cloud the same way if you direct your attention that way. So you get into weird stuff where we have these other abilities, and there's clearly a frequency war going on with one that's hostile, and then you have Mother Nature. And she can be hostile too, but in a response to us, no doubt, and then there's earth changes, but I'm not buying that the humans did it. I think that there's cycles, and we're on one of those cycles where they're trying to capitalize. And that's what the people who have the information always do. They always use it in such a ways to make advantage for themselves. Like I was watching a show, like the TV shows have been like on it. Everything in the reality I see on the TV. So much so I don't like to watch it. But even last night there was a horror show with 2 gargoyles. And then since there's 2 TVs in my dad's room, there was 4. But I've got these 2 little gargoyles that I got that I keep them by my device. Which I have one. I do have some black goo. It's not black goo like the type the Nazis use. It's definitely Mother Earth's black goo. And how I got it was this big crystal I took and swam it across the river and went with a girl named Crystal and a dog, and ended up being a tree that was laid down horizontal, opened up into a diamond underneath it, and I stuck this crystal in there for 3 months. And when I retrieved it, it had this black oil around the coil I had on the base of it. So I put it into this. This guy right here, it's right in the core. And it went with me too. Well, I gave it to my mom. My mom came here and she was having she was going into kidney failure, and she just showed up. She had a habit of doing that, you know, because I mean, me and my mom fought, and I set her over it and she got better. And that one's in the river. I've got 2 or 3 pyramids like actually in the river, and they're not gonna break down. They're not like polluting the river. That's not what I'm saying. But the river has been gifted orgone devices, the pyramid made, and it was a pretty damn good one. I tried to go back and get it, but it's in some rocks deep. And then there's some place in the front. I mean, in the middle of the river, we've got a ring of rocks, and the rocks looks weird. It looks like there's some rock that's not from here. There's some weird marble and stuff like that. It's like, where the hell did this rock come from? But there's like a ring of them, and you can sit in it. It's like a hot tub, and it's pretty cool. But that's on any map, so. But that's all. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Amazing synchronist devices. I'm playing with the magnets and pretty much going to different areas around. Playing with the toroid. I got the donut. Then I've got this, which is magnetic horseshoe, some blades. I've got this Nickel Fritz, the 1990s monster in my pocket, Voodoo Man, and it's just weird. But all hooked to wires and all whirling about a common center. So, a strange mix of mysticism and science. That's all I can say. Kelly Watson signing out.